Greetings, Patrick here, Eight Questions with, and thank you for coming into the show tonight. Another beautiful fall day here in Michigan. A little bit nippier than it has been. We've gone through a little bit of a heat wave here, actually, and we are still rocking and rolling in the 70s. Normally, this is like fall season, sweater season, or what have you, but the weather is absolutely beautiful so far. All right. So tonight's show, we only got two shows this week, by the way. We only got two shows. We have tonight's show with screenwriter and film director Lou Simone. And also, we will also be talking to Morgan Malum on Thursday. We will not be here tomorrow night. We will not be here tomorrow night. And yeah, we'll be here next Tuesday. Um, yeah, we won't be here on November 5th either. That's a Tuesday, November 5th. We will not be on November 5th. That's election day, and nobody's going to be here watching us talk about anything. Uh, so, uh, like I said, our guest is Lou Simone. She has written and directed a fine thriller horror film, and I do say horror film because that movie is, like I said before, is banging. And there he is. I was just going to get to that. The big news of the day: the Mighty Waffles is back. Heroic Waffles, the owner of the best channel name on YouTube, has taken a hiatus, and then he has come back. So Waffles is here, and I even broke out my Met cap in honor of Waffles because I knew he'd pop up today, and damn your Mets. We almost had a Subway series. We came within two games of Subway series. Man, well, the Yankees just have to go out there and take care of business. So I'm going to be really excited about that. Uh, so the World Series starts on Friday, and of course, but tonight we're here to talk about Lou Simone and her career. Uh, we're going to talk about Nine Windows, has a tremendous backstory to it, including how it was filmed and some of the choices that were made for that. It also stars a couple of really bright up and comer stars in Christopher Milan and the lovely Diana Garley. And we'll be talking about that. She knows her way around a thriller. I can tell you that. If you go ahead and look at her history, uh, she's no Hallmark director. I mean, she's writing thrillers. We got Nine Windows coming up. She's done 73 minutes. She was a writer there. All Girls Weekend, featuring a former, though I can't get her to get on the show per se. Oh man, Nine Windows is a banger. People will be sleeping on that. That's a shame because that is it will get you. There's a lot of cool horror elements in this movie. Um, let's see. Well, the Mets need Juan Soto. You know what? If they want to pay him $400 million, they're more than I'm all right with it. I'm all right with it. Hey, there's a brother Max in the house. There's a brother Max in the house. Um, yeah. Nine Windows Waffles. It's really good. Um, it's fast. It has a great cast. I mentioned the two young stars that are in the film, and they're backed up by Michael Pere and the mighty William Forsythe. And like I said, it's a banger of a film. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. It is out on Gravitas Ventures. The movie is out on Gravitas Ventures. Um, I believe it's coming out on physical media as well. It's going to be released on physical media as well. Gravitas Ventures, they have seemed to be shifting their what they have been releasing, what are they distributing, and because they have done a lot of horror films and a lot of suspense thrillers this year. They also did a Spider Dabrowski's Down Below. That was another movie that got released by Gravitas. And before they were doing more indie dramas. They do some documentaries, but mostly it was indie dramas, romantic films, rom-coms, that sort of thing. But it does seem like lately that they are putting their toe in more and more into the world of horror, which is really, really cool on one respect. It's like cool for anybody to get into any genre. My only question is, where are they going to sell it at? Is it strictly going to be online only? I mean, is that where we're headed to? Where we can do the physical media, but we can't. Like I would like to go out there and buy nine windows. I can't. Um, I don't know if it's even out on physical media. So we'll see. I am hanging in there today, brother Max, hanging in here today. Our good friend Waffles is back. Uh, and let me go over there and grab his channel. Now, hopefully, Waffles will not he will not bail on us again. I can understand, and we'll talk about it, Michael. Um, I'm sure you had your reasons, but I'm just glad you're back. Um, but hopefully, if you need to take a break in the future, hopefully you'll just put your channel on sleep mode, and then come back to it. But we're gonna go ahead and find your channel and get it out there so people can go there and sub to it. Yeah, that's right. You gotta. Oh, that's the wrong one. Let's see. Let me find out where that's at. I'm gonna go ahead and, in fact, I was just probably just go ahead. Are you on Facebook again, Michael? Are you on Facebook or Instagram? If so, send me a friend request either on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll see about getting your channel up and running again. Um, for sure. I just Hey, Michael, how are you? How are you? Welcome in, welcome in. I'm so happy you're here for this one. Lou Simone is going to be. She's a terrific director, um, and I really like her screenplays as well. I mentioned one of the movies she did, that she did, and that was All Girls Weekend, and that one featured a guest I had interviewed on my blog, on my print edition, Eight Questions With, which I had started before I started this. And one of the people I got to interview over there, but not here, though I try. But it also starred Jamie Bernadette. Jamie Bernadette was in All Girls Weekend, and Jamie Bernadette she is a chameleon. She's terrific. I mean, she can come across as just. I mean, she can come across as being a badass. I mean, and then before you know it, she can look just as lovely as a leading lady. I she's got such a unique look about her. Um, and so Lou worked with her on All Girls Weekend, which we'll be talking about. It's one of the films that she directed. And of course, we'll be talking about Nine Windows. Okay, let me tell you what's coming up here. Like I said, we're not going to be here tomorrow. We are not going to be here tomorrow. Um, we're not going to be here tomorrow. Hey, there's the Indie Escape Network. Uh, greetings. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. I have not seen the show. I have not seen it come across my feed. I'm not sure if or if it's coming in at a different time. I look on Mondays. I look for the Indie Escape Network. I'm always looking for them on Mondays so I can come out there and hang out with them all, watch the show. But I have not seen them lately, so I'm not sure if they're taking a break or not, or is this just good old YouTube um, denying us the right to see our friends that we're friends with. Um, but in the Escape Network, yes, if you haven't subscribed to them, please flash on over there and subscribe. Anthony says that good evening. I'm about to 2006 in my memoirs. Let's see. and the Liberty won the WNBA championship. Yes, and now they are, and you know what? More power to them. But they backed out of the players, the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. The girls have backed out of that. Good for them, um, because they are raking cash money, and it's time to play the girls. Pay the girls. They play an exciting. I got to tell you, I'd much rather watch women basketball than men right now. I really do, especially on the pro side. I'm more watching the women play than I am men. They need to raise the rim up at men's basketball. They need to raise it up a foot to make it competitive again. I'm just sick and tired of seeing people just slam dunking all the time. That's just not basketball to me. Passing and playing defense and shooting a 20-foot J, that's fun. That's fun for me as a basketball fan. Um, it's just like an independent movie, right? I mean, oh, I think I froze here. I did. Hold on one second here. I don't know how that happened. I just want to make sure I don't miss our guest coming and trying to get in here. Oh man, what is going on? There we go. Always something exciting here. Let's see. Yeah, that's boring. That's like going. You know what? It's like watching. Look at it this way. What would you rather watch? Would you rather watch a 200 million mega studio horror film, right? They spent $100 million on it or what have you. Would you sit there and rather watch that, or would you rather go down and watch some independent movie that got made for maybe 5 or 10 million bucks, but absolutely kicks ass? That's really what it that's exactly it's a very good comparison. I mean, you got the NBA with all those bright superstars, hundreds of millions of dollars, and then you got the WNBA that the players are making thousands of dollars and they're trying hard. They play a good style of basketball. I rather see the girls play. I much rather I'm more interested in that. And that's the reason why I really never have gone to a lot of mainstream horror films. Um, not in the last 10 years or so. I think the last main horror film that I saw was actually probably the last film I did see at the theater, and that was It Part Two, and that was very disappointing. That was a very disappointing movie. But since then, I've watched a ton of independent films, and I love them to death. I think they're a lot of fun, and the filmmakers that are making them, hats off to them. All right, our guest is ringing the doorbell, so you know what that means. Share us out if you can, if you will. Glad you're here, and let's go talk to Lou Simone of the great movie Nine Windows.
Hi.
Sure. Greetings, greetings. So, yeah, we were just talking about a weird analogy and a comparison. We're talking about how the we're talking about the girls basketball and men's basketball, and I can't stand watching the men's basketball. I just it bores the hell out of me. I like watching the girls play because they still play passing, they still play defense, and they don't dunk. They shoot the ball. That's the art of the basketball is they shoot the ball, and I really love watching that. Transition. Men's basketball is all about pure power, and
Right.
where women's basketball is pure grace. And I'm all about grace. And I sort of compare it to like watching like $100 million horror film, I don't know, like Halloween Ends. um, you got a big ass movie like that with a lot of marketing behind it and everything else, and it comes out there and it just lays a poo in the cat box. And then you got an independent movie, maybe $5-10 million coming in there, like like your film Nine Windows, like Terrifier 3. coming in there with 10, $8 or $10 million or less, coming in there and just dominating. It's like, having you sit there and clutching the chair you're sitting in. I like a movie. I like a movie that does that for me.
Oh, thanks for comparing me even to Terrifier. Never mind, compare me, favorably against Halloween Ends, but I mean,
Well,
Terrifier right now is kind of killing it on, in theaters. So thanks.
well, you know what? We gotta be. I gotta be honest with you. I mean, Terrifier is great and it's known for its kills, but I gotta tell you, you don't. Your movie, it doesn't hold back. You got two scenes in there that I would match up with anything that Art the Clown can do. I mean, I'm sitting there. In fact, I know one Art the Clown would not do. He would not do it. And I can tell you this straight from Art the Clown's mouth to your ear, he would not do your first big scene. He says, "Nope." He
Oh,
said,
really?
"No, no."
Huh.
People here get tired of me telling the story, but I have so much fun with it. So I'm watching the first Terrifier, and there's a scene where have you seen the first Terrifier?
Yes.
Okay, the scene in the subway where the crazy lady sitting there with all the cats around her.
Uh-huh.
Art didn't touch a single cat,
Oh,
not
that's
one.
true.
Not one. And
That's
so when I saw David Thornton Howard, I saw online, and I asked him. I said, is Art the Clown a cat lover?
true.
Did I expect an answer? No, I didn't. I didn't expect that at all. Art the Clown, David Howard Thornton came over and says, Art loves cats. He loves cats and he loves dogs. So, like I said, you're already out of it. I mean, you're already beating Art right now.
That's
Um,
true. That's true. Although you don't really see it, it's more suggested. It's weird. I'm the same way, kind of the thing where like I can see like a really gruesome kill, and I'll be like laughing or like, oh, how cool! How did they do that? And yet when they kill animals, that's where I lose it.
yeah, me
So
too.
for that reason, I didn't really want to show it. I just wanted to imply it.
But you know what? That worked better that way. It worked. It
Yeah,
worked.
it's
It
it's
worked
tough to
way better.
watch. I mean, it works story wise because we know how most serial killers start is by killing
Yeah.
animals. So it felt like that's the way it should start, and it needed to be something small because otherwise, if they're already killing people from the very get go, then the police is going to be all over it from the get go. So I needed like a something that could be a misdemeanor or a minor crime by comparison, so that way she could be alerted to this happening, but at the same time not have like the whole police department involved from day one.
I am going to make this out a little bit bigger here.
Oh, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Don't do that to
Um,
your
I was just I have to admit
audience.
I have to admit I was no, this might get me some heat, but that's all right. People who know me. But when I saw the scene, I'm going like, please, please, please don't let there be a cat. Please, 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 please don't let there be a cat. And it's just like then it wasn't. I'm like, okay. Uh, okay, so I can go back eating my popcorn. But your movie, surprisingly, and I said this before, horror fans don't get caught sleeping on Nine Windows. Yes, it's a suspense thriller, and that's how you advertise it,
Mhm.
or even marketing it as it's a comparison to Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window,
Oh,
classic movie to go off of. I mean, classic. I mean,
it's my
it's like,
favorite.
what? Yes, Alfred Hitchcock is a mighty. Um, but I gotta tell people who watch this movie is there's a lot of horror in this movie, a
Yeah.
surprisingly amount, considering it. It's like, I was all in for it. I'm like, this is happening. This is all right. Um, and of course, the casting of the movie. Um, you know, Diana Garley was here. We're talking about this. The cast was just so good. You got Michael Perry, and you got one of my very favorite actors in the whole world, William Forsythe. And William Forsythe just, he's just amazing to me.
He is, and he's so good in this. And it's funny because somebody suggested him when we were casting, and I hadn't really thought of, I probably would have never thought of him, to be honest. And yet he's so perfect in that role, because he's so much like the original detective in the original Rear Window. He has that sarcasm down, that little nuance of like teasing them about like whether they're having something or not, and he does that so perfectly. And he kind of like steals every scene he's in.
Yeah. One of the things I really appreciated too, and that is that you cast him without giving too much away, but you cast him against type. And I got to tell you, I love that character more than when he's, like The Rock. You watch him in The Rock. He steals every scene that he's in.
Yeah.
The part where he's sitting there with Nicolas Cage, and he's sitting there going like, "Vaporized, huh?" He just, he just has that whole persona down, like this poor bastard. And it's like the whole audience is just laughing at that, because he just comes on there, and what I really appreciated too was the fact that you're right. He was a big part of your movie.
Yeah. I want to make sure that he was. I've seen some movies where they get some big names, but then they're on for like 2 seconds and they do like 2 lines and you never see them again. No, like he's a big part of the movie. I mean, he's in a lot of scenes. He was on set about 5 days. That's how many scenes he's in. So
before we get deeper into the movie, and we will come back to it because it's an amazing film. I definitely want to go back to, because you've done some fine films. I mean,
thank you.
I caught the All Girls Weekend. I caught the trailer for that. I saw an old friend you got to work with, and another one of my favorite actresses. You got to work with Jamie Bernadette.
Yes, Jamie's the best.
Jamie isn't she? I mean, she has such a unique look. I mean, she can come across as being just a total hardcore badass bitch. Like, she's got the face for it, like, Rrr. And then there's times where you see her when she's all, when you got a dress on, got her hair and makeup done, and she's just absolutely stunning.
Right. And she's like she's like the sexiest woman.
Right. Yes. She is slinky and graceful. So I mean, I love her work too. And
she has a lot of range. Even in that movie, she starts out being kind of like this bad girl, and then slowly as the movie continues, she becomes like this. You see like the softer side of that character, Nancy, and she plays it all. I mean, she's really talented. I mean, she at this point she's done like over 100 films, so I mean, she definitely practices her craft a lot. So
I heard that I guess she's a method actress, so once she sinks herself into a part, she's gung ho for it.
I mean, she might. I don't know that, to be honest. Like, I mean, maybe because I don't. In the story I hear about method actors are that you can't even talk to them, like if they're not the character, and they're really difficult to work with, and whatever. And that was not my experience with her at all. I mean, she was super easy to work with, and we just talked to her as Jamie. We never had to be like, "Hey, Nancy," let's pretend you're Nancy in real life. So that to me is method, when you're like really hard, where whatever, Christian Bale or whatever those guys are like that. Not that I wouldn't mind working with Christian Bale, mind you, but they're so hardcore that they, whatever, they don't bathe for 3 months so that they smell like their character or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, I know Ben Foster. I know he's one. And Jared Leto, of course, he's famous for being a method actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Will Smith was sitting there saying when they did that in Emancipation, and he did that movie with Ben Foster, and Will said that he didn't get to talk to Ben Foster till the last day of the shoot after he was over with us. He said I was on there for 3 months and I didn't get to talk to Ben at all until after he wrapped. And have you ever had to deal with an actor to that extreme? Or are you able to spot them coming through the casting process and go, I like him or her, but I don't want to deal with that, and basically save yourself the headache? Or do you go ahead and gamble with it and work with them?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to. Like, if I spot it ahead of time, I wouldn't, cast that way. Just because, especially when you're doing indie films, that like, it's already such a stressful situation because you're trying to make an entire feature film in a fraction of the time that that a studio would make a feature film. And it's a feature film just the same. It has to be at least 80, to 90 minutes, minimum. So, and you have such a limited amount of time that you kind of need people that are easy to work with and that are that will work with you and that will be able to transition from one thing to the other. Very early on, I worked on a film where actually my very first film where we were set up to on the schedule it was supposed to be like a certain scene, and then the special effects makeup wasn't ready for the victim. It's kind of a funny way of putting it, but so I was like, okay, we're just going to go ahead and film the other scene first, since that doesn't require any special effects, and then we'll go back and do this one. And she was like, oh, no, I'm already ready for this one. I can't switch. I was like, you better switch because we can't film that right now. So and that taught me early on, like, okay, you need people who are amenable to change. William Forsythe was a little bit method. He does like to do it his way. He's not the easiest person to direct, to be completely honest. He's not difficult, and he is incredibly talented, so he comes super prepared and what have you. But he definitely has a way that he wants to do it, and you kind of have to let him play because he's not going to listen to you. You're like, no, not that. Okay, fine. You'll fight with him longer than it's really worth it.
But it's yeah, I guess it's one of those things it's hard, it's hard, as a director, the set's underneath your control. It's your set, it's your movie, directors control it. And I can understand, I can see the clashes between, directors and on the artists, performers. Sometimes they clash over, what's that saying? Creative differences is what they call it, I think. But I also can appreciate too, yes, you would like to see that from him because but at the same time, I think you show a lot of confidence and trust in him and going like, okay, maybe I'm not going to get exactly what I want per se, but I'm still going to I might not get an A plus, but I'm going to get an A. And that's a whole
It
lot
wasn't
better
about creative differences, because to be honest, in that respect, he was super he was very eager to, like, before we ever get to set, let's talk and what have you. It was more in wanting to play out the entire scene from beginning to end, when I just needed like a little snippet, because in my mind, as I'm filming as a director, I'm already editing the film, and I know what I don't need. I know that that's going to be a close up, and this is going to be a wide shot, and this is going to be a moving shot. So what's the point of doing the entire scene from beginning to end if I'm never going to use it? And he wanted to like do the whole thing. That's like, oh man, I just need your entrance. That's all I need on this shot. I just need your entrance. That kind of thing, So,
but now you can release 9 windows with the Snyder cut.
right?
Right? Oh, Here it is, 3 hours, 3 hours, the whole movie. But it's interesting. Um, it's interesting that he would do that. Like I guess he's not used to stopping in the middle of the scene.
Well, the thing is, I think in Hollywood, they do 20 takes, and they probably do the scene from 20 different angles, and they do the whole thing, whatever. But in indie film, you don't have that luxury. You're not shooting 3 pages a day. You're shooting 3 pages in 3 hours. And so, like, you have to be very conservative, if you will, in the amount of shots you take, and how much time you spend on a scene. So you don't have the luxury of just doing the whole scene from beginning to end. Or sometimes it's like, okay, no, I know exactly how I'm going to cut it, so let's just do this, kind of thing. So
it's interesting too. It's interesting too that we were talking about that. And to me, in doing it, talking to various directors, like the biggest thing I always get, as far as independent film directors, the one thing they're most grateful for of everything is a digital camera. If it had been done on film, yeah, I'd be sitting there going like, yeah, I'm doing 30 seconds and that's it. If you want to keep doing the scene, you go right ahead, but the camera's not running on you, so you be right ahead and do that. But with a digital camera, I thought that eliminated that, Lou. I thought that, hey, if you want to do, I mean, you could get more takes with a digital camera and not cost anything because it's just digital. You can just wipe it off.
It's not a cost in terms of technology. It's cost in terms of time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Because
go to the
I literally, sometimes I'll be doing like 10 pages a day. So at that point, you need to be able to shoot an entire, and I've never gone over budget, and I've never gone over time. So
do you hate the short? Do you find yourself sometimes sitting there hating the fact that you have to get it done in 8 days? I mean,
Oh,
I mean, wouldn't it be nice just to relax, stretch it out a little bit? You find yourself, man, I wish I could have eight instead of 8 days. I wish I could have 14. But there's so
yeah.
many things I'd like to try, and even if they don't work in the movie, you're getting the experience, and like, oh gosh, I'd like to try this. I wonder if this will work. And then maybe you don't use it in that movie, but in the back of your mind, you just put it back in your toolbox. Well, next time I get a chance to, I'm going to use that angle. I'm going to use this lighting, because I'm gonna have more time to do that.
Well, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, obviously you want more time, and I actually thought that I had more time in this one. We shot it over total like 16 days. The problem that we had with this one was we had a ton of difficulty with the technology because we were using the virtual studio. So first I was learning a whole new technology that I had never used before, and is super complicated. It's in theory, in my mind, never having used it before, I was like, oh, it's very simple. It's the background, is just a screen instead of actual things. But the logistics of it is actually way more complicated than that. And it really, in many ways, it slowed us down. And we actually lost an entire day of production because they had built, they call them environments. It's basically like building a video game, if you will. So you create this whole world that the characters are going to live in, and then you just end up projecting what part of it that you want to use in the screen in the back. So since this is based on Rear Window, it's kind of, or inspired by it, a big chunk of it takes place in this house where Liza, the main character, lives. And they created this big house in this video game, kind of thing. All the furnishing, all the walls, and then they had to create the exterior of the of the world, because you obviously have to be able to see things through the windows. So it turned out that it was such a huge file that it crashed their computer. So we lost an entire day of production just on that, while they figured out how they could possibly break up this world so
Now,
that
were you the
but
first
still.
director to do this technology? I mean, are you a pioneer in a word? Are you a pioneer? Are you a pioneer? Is this something brand new? Were you the first major director to do with the
Well,
technology?
no, no. I mean, I think everybody learned about this with the Mandalorian. They're the first ones to use it, big time like that. But they used it part of the time. First of all, it's a TV show, but they used it part of the time, and then they used green screen technology the other time. But to our knowledge, this is the first feature film that was created 100% using that technology. So yeah, like every single shot in that movie was created, on a virtual stage.
How did you feel? How do they approach it? How do they approach it with you, the producers? How do they approach this with you and saying, Lou, we got something to throw your way, something new, never been done in a feature film. What was your reaction to that? I mean, was it one of exploration, or was it one of, I don't mind using technology, but I don't know, I'm not really sure I want to be the white mouse in the cage to be the first to do it. It's like
There's a part of me who wishes that I had been like, maybe not, because I was all set to film this, and on a real set, not like a real house. So there's a little part of me who was like, I wish I hadn't complicated my life so much. But when I was first approached by Bryce, who is the producer on this, and he attended Full Sail University in Orlando, Florida. And they had just built the studio, and it's a multi-million-dollar studio. It's beautiful, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And he kind of convinced them that they should let us use it, and be kind of like their guinea pigs, if you will, in trying out the technology. And that way their staff could also learn it, and that way they can teach it to the students in return. So it seemed like a really good, win-win situation for both of us. We got the use of the studio, and they got, to try it out and practice with it. So it sounded like a perfect situation, like ideal. Like I was going to get to shoot in this new technology and be one of, maybe 10 directors, in the US or that has ever used it. But I underestimated, in all honesty, just how much preparation it takes to shoot that way.
sure.
Like way more than you would, if you were just shooting in a location.
Well, some of the pros of that though are, once it gets up and running, it's going to be you're going to save a lot. You're going to get a lot more money out of your budget. A lot of it, a lot of it has to go with, like locations and set design and everything else. If this
Hmm.
technology works, instead of spending, maybe a quarter of your budget or a little bit like that on practical, I'm not saying get rid of practical altogether. That would be blasphemy. Um, what I'm saying though is, if you could go ahead and at least save a quarter of your budget working with that technology, you could turn that right around and put it a little bit more into the movie itself. Maybe more actors, maybe more locations. I mean, whatever you need, instead of feeling like you need to rush through 16 days. Now you got the money to relax and stretch it out to 19 days, and or hire a bigger orchestra, or all sorts of things that you save money that you would have spent doing a movie from the ground up versus one that's just doing technology. Do you see that happening with this technology? Do you feel like filmmakers this is going to benefit filmmakers, or is it going to be a hindrance as they work out the bugs?
it has its pros and its cons. I mean, it's not it's I think it has some really good use. Um, you have to realize that a lot of these environments, in order to create them, it takes a lot of work ahead of time. So what you're not spending on changing locations, you might spend it on creating the environments in the first place. So it depends on, what kind of deal you can get from your artists. These basically video game designers basically is it's the skill that's needed for that. And also what you're trying to create, because I think if you're shooting something in space, or I don't know, the desert or something like that, yeah, it would be a lot easier just to shoot it in a studio, where you can contain it. Definitely, we have a big car accident at the beginning of the movie. That was a lot easier to do there than it would have been to do, on the
Right.
street.
Right.
Um, so it depends. It depends on what you're trying to use it for. It's definitely not a solution for every scene and every type of movie. It's not, because
Yeah.
it has some drawbacks because of the amount of preparation that you need to do before the film in order to get it done.
How long was your pre-production, Lou, before you?
We had 6 months, but so much of that was so out of my control because it was done by Full Sail. So and they were busy. They had, they have curriculum to teach and stuff like that. So it was not, in reality, it wasn't 6 months. It was more, the hardest work, the most work was done really the last couple of months before we started filming.
How did your cast and crew feel about being pioneers? Working with the technology. To me, it almost seemed like it would be like if you're on a stage. If
Mhm.
if you're just acting against green screen. I mean,
Yeah.
green screen acting is pretty much like a stage acting, is it not? Or do
Yep,
you
very
feel?
similar. Very, very similar. It's almost like doing a stage play because, I mean, you still have set pieces and stuff like that. Anything that they touch or anything like that has to be real. Um, so it's just the background is not real. So it's a lot like acting on a play. But I think everybody was excited. I was excited. I mean, I'm glad I did it. It was
Yeah.
a huge learning experience, and it taught me so much uh, about how to be inventive in many ways, in a whole new set of ways, to make it work.
Wow. So you and the Mandalorian, pretty good company to be in. You
Oh,
know.
I mean, Mandalorian was the first one. There's other ones that have used it since then, but yeah, but that was the big one. That's the first one where people found out that it existed, and everybody was like pretty blown away. But I mean, they also spent, from what I understand, that even using that technology, they still had to spend a ton of money, sort of in post, to make it look real. And it's
Right.
easy, and it's also easier to do, a place in outer space that nobody has a preconceived idea of what it looks like, than for us that we were filming the inside of a house. Like, everybody knows what a door and a couch and all that stuff looks like, so it had to look really good in order to, for it to look real.
Right. Right. Let me go to the chat real quick and catch up on here. People have been talking, so I want to engage and talk to them back a little bit. Welcoming everybody that's coming in. Hi, Betty Jean. How are you? Tom Baker is here. Thank you for coming in, Tom. Our friend Waffles was here, and Snow is here. Hi, Snow. And the Mad Bloods are here. Cool. Glad to see you guys coming in. Hope you're enjoying the conversation so far. Hello, Lady Valerie. Thank you for being here. Share us out if you feel like it. That would be helpful. Um, so let's go back before the technology. Um, I mean, to me, you're a pioneer regardless the technology or whatnot, because for me, this is my first time talking to a Cuban-American filmmaker. Now you were born in Havana, but you came over here. But you came over here when you were what, 9, right?
Hmm.
That's that's still, to me, it's still pioneering. Whether it been, I didn't start making movie styles, in my teens or 20s, but still doesn't take away the fact that you're a Cuban American and you're making films. And how many other people can you on your hands can you tell me? Can you name me 10 other Cuban American directors that are currently working? I couldn't think of any. I couldn't
I
think
mean,
of
I
any.
know a couple myself, but no, I don't know that I know 10. No.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think it's a hell of a legacy to have. As a hell, I mean, it definitely shows off. Nine Windows definitely shows off your skill set.
Oh, thank you.
Like I said, I mean, people who are into good thrillers and a nice touch of horror, I highly recommend Nine Windows. Not going to be you're not going to be disappointed. So you're going to be surprised, but you won't be disappointed. You'll be sitting there going like, "Yeah, that's somebody I want to keep an eye on." And it's really fun for me. Part of my fun as a movie going in my movie going experience is seeing a first time director for me and watching their work. Because then you go ahead and you go like, I want to see what they're going to do next. I'm
Mm.
excited to. It's really rare you hear people actually sit there and say that. They're always talking about the actors per se. Like, oh, I can't wait to see what Wednesday Adams is going to do next. Like, what's her? Oh, help me out. Who played Wednesday?
Jenna Ortega.
Jenna. Okay, so everybody's sitting there going like, let's go see what Jenna Ortega's going to do next. But it's really rare when you see a first time director or independent director break out of their mold a little bit. All of a sudden, you catch their movie and you go like, "Oh my God, this is a hell of a voice right here. I can't wait to see what she's doing next, and I'm going to go back and see what she's been doing in the past, because that's exciting for me. For me,
Oh, thank you.
I'm a huge director fan.
Thank
Uh,
you. Yeah.
I can sit here and if you go through my playlist, the people I've talked to, you will see that I've talked to a hell of a lot of directors, because you always have, some people say, well, do you ask the same questions of the directors? Yes, sometimes you ask them the same questions, but I always say, but do you notice the one important thing is I might ask the same question, but it's always going to be a different answer, always. Um, so I guess my question is, what do you remember? When did you creative juices get going? 9 years old, you landed in, I take it probably in Florida.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I'm sure they had TV in Cuba, um, but when you first got here, what do you remember most about the entertainment, like when you watched the first TV show here in America or your first cartoon or whatnot? How old were you when you realized that I want to do something like this, or I want to be a part of something like this? um do you remember when that do you remember when that came to you?
Honestly, I that wasn't something that I really wrapped my mind around like that. I never saw myself in movies or anything like that. That just seemed like something like really big, that I don't know, huge movie stars would do. Like it I didn't even know that independent film existed, to be honest. So I can't really say that. I did start writing. I had The one good thing about communism is that because we had very little, we had to use our imagination a lot to have fun and play. So we were always, as kids, we were always like coming up with these really um, extensive storylines to play act between. I have 3 sisters, and we were always like play acting and stuff like that, and just coming up with stuff just to entertain ourselves as kids. So we were forced to use our imagination a lot since we didn't really have many toys. um So I think maybe that's where that came from. I don't know, but I know that by the time that I was 10, I started writing little short stories. Started by writing one for my mom that she thought it was hilarious because here's a 10-year-old writing about a woman who kills her husband by putting poison in a spaghetti sauce. And she's like, where is this coming from? And then I had to write one for her.
That's actually a really good question. Let's answer that. So,
I have
so
no
where,
idea.
where did that come from?
I have no idea. I mean, I think part of it is that, I mean, the reason why I love Hitchcock so much and all these old movies is that, entertainment did get cut off in 61 when the embargo started. So we didn't get American movies or anything like that post 61. So I grew up, there's like a bit of an age gap between me and my nearest sister, and I was the youngest. So by the time that I was a kid, that my sisters were already in school. So my mom got tired of watching cartoons, so she would just play all these old movies during the day because it was just her and me. And so I grew up watching these old movies, all the old Hitchcock movies, or I don't know, the Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, those kind of movies, that kind of thing. So I never watched cartoons. So for me, that was entertainment, was a woman, doing spaghetti sauce.
I can't even imagine what it would be like if you just got all your TV and movies only went to a certain year and that was it.
Yeah.
So
Music too.
now, has that been more relaxed, or is that still pretty much going on the same way?
Well, now with the internet, like people, download copies and stuff like that, and people, that kind of thing. But this was the 80s. This is before you could do any of that stuff. So
That's so interesting. I mean, that would just be, and the fact that matters because of that happened to develop your imagination, and that's, maybe we have to do that here. Yeah, shut it off at 61, and then let people just start, come up with fresh ideas, instead of revamping and redoing. Yeah, maybe we could do that. I don't know. I think I'm liking the idea more and more. So 10 years old, and you're already doing your first film noir.
I'm already killing people.
Yeah, we're already doing Hitchcock already. So now, what did you get into the movie side of it? Did you ever try acting first? I mean, most, I always find directors interesting. A lot of directors will sit there and say, I really didn't act. I always just went from point A to point B. I went from I guess I went to point A to point C without doing B, which was the acting game. I just went from, I want to be a director to I am a director. Did that happen with you, or did you become a screenwriter first?
I mean, I took drama in high school, but honestly, I never thought of it as something I wanted to pursue. I don't even know if I was any good, but I definitely didn't think of it as a career. I just thought it was something fun to do. But I just wanted to be a writer. It's what I wanted to be. In fact, I wanted to be a novelist. And I went to school for that. My degree is actually in creative writing. And that's what I thought it was going to be, a novelist. But, there's no novelist jobs listed when you're finishing, college. And it was like, okay, what do I do? So I just went on, and I was like, okay, I could just wait tables or something like that. While I wait, write the great American novel, or I can give up on this and think that's not a realistic dream. I had come from very humble beginnings, so I kind of craved security and wanted a nice life, and so I went to law school.
Oh, okay.
Became a lawyer. So it wasn't until I was already a lawyer and that I met somebody who was, in the film industry, and they introduced me And I was like, what? Independent film? What is that? Kind of thing. And I learned about this whole world. And then I thought, well, that would be one way to write, and started writing screenplays. And it wasn't until a year later that I thought that I kept hearing, oh, if you want people to kind of discover your writing, you're better off writing, making your own film. And I wasn't even supposed to direct. We had hired a director to direct the first film, and just kind of like kept butting in and giving my opinion and stuff. And after a while, I decided I kind of liked it. So by the second film, I directed the whole thing.
Now, what kind of law did you practice?
Completely unrelated. Real estate law. I did real estate transactions.
I told you beforehand. We're not asking you, for the easy ones. We're asking you some fun questions. Now, I just the fact that you decided to become a lawyer is like, how did you decide to go that direction? What led you down that path to go to law school? Was it something, was it just, were you encouraged? Was there a mentor, or?
Well, I had a degree where, like, the two skills that you learn the most as an English major, with the creative writing emphasis, was how to read and write. I definitely didn't want to be a teacher. So, and I had a mentor at the time that had always wanted me to go to law school. She pushed me a lot towards that. She was like, I think you'd be a great lawyer. And you know what? I was a really good lawyer. So I still am. Basically, I still am, because I still have a law degree and I still have a bar license. But yeah, probably for her, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have thought of it. But
I can see it now, watching a tense scene going on there, and then someone plays it wrong, and you stand up and say, "I object."
I object. No, I was never a litigator, thank God.
So that's so cool though, and it's neat that you kept your license as well. Now, do you have to go that? Now, do you have to? Gosh, I'm just thinking to myself, like, so many cool movies you can get out of being a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think any life experience, so much of my writing is influenced by my life experiences. Like, in hindsight, as much as I have tortured myself over the years, like, why did I go to law school? That's not really what I was passionate about, or whatever. In all honesty, I was 21 when I graduated from college. I had no life experience. What was I supposed to write about?
Right. So how long were you a practicing attorney before you got the producing bug?
How was it? Something like 10 years or something like that.
Okay, so you kicked ass. You kicked ass for 10 years.
Yeah, I did good. I
So
paid off all my student loans so that way I could afford to be a starving artist again.
now does it cost an arm and a leg to go to, like, I know I saw this on the Susie Orman show, where somebody came on there and they did a segment called "Can I Afford It?" And this dental student came in there and I don't know if you know the show or not, but there was a segment on where people would write in and they would sit there and say, I want to get a new boat. And it costs like $50,000. And she would sit there and say, well, we'll see if we can afford it. So send me all your information, your financial information, and I'll tell you if you can afford the boat or not. And and this one guy, I don't know what he did or whatnot, but he wanted something. And then he goes, well, this is where I'm at. I have like 40,000 in savings. I have 15,000 in retirement. And you're like, man, this guy's doing pretty good. And then he says, I got 130,000 loans into New York City, because he wanted to be a dentist. And it's just like, holy crap! How the hell do you get to spend $130,000 in student loans being a dentist? I thought we were supposed to put, and so, it's like, that's just absolutely crazy. Student loans. I mean, you need lawyers, you need doctors. So why are you making it so hard for that, for that to happen? Did you feel that way? Did you ever feel like when you had to deal with that, paying back your loan, did you ever feel that way? Like, here it is, like,
Hmm.
I'm doing something, I'm going to be contributing something to society. So why is it that people are making it so hard for us to do this?
I'm not of the generation that thinks that way. Like I just took it for granted that that's the way things are. I mean, I definitely think of that now, but at the time, it didn't even occur to me to question the way the system was set
Mhm.
up. I just assumed that over time I would make enough money that'd be able to pay it off, and I did. I did. I did very well. So I can't. But I mean, if but it also limits the kind of work that you do, right? Because if you have these student loans, you're gonna do a corporate job. You're not gonna end up doing, I don't know, helping the environment or something. Something that might actually help humanity, because you those jobs don't pay very well. So
Right.
it does. There are limitations. And
Uh,
I also picked the most expensive law school in the country, which is NYU.
oh, that's where that. Oh, that's where that guy.
So I definitely came out.
That's why. Okay,
To write.
that's the reason why you didn't say anything. 130,000. What is he nuts? That's why you didn't say that, because I think most people would have said 130,000. You're going over there. Oh, that guy's a rookie.
That's peanuts. Yeah.
Um, so you found, what was the first set that once someone started talking to you about getting into movies and maybe making it, because I noticed you did a short film. Now, did you do your short film? Did you do your short? Not with that. I guess that would be cutting your teeth for the first time. So up to that
Mm.
point, you know anything at all about directing? I mean, you knew about writing, but did you know anything at all about what a director does, the responsibilities, when you walked on your first set, or was this all learn as you go?
I learned as I go. It wasn't until, because I told you, I kind of just stepped in and started doing stuff that directors do, because I kind of pushed my way in. I mean, I was a producer on that film, so it was easy to go. You know what? What about this? What about that? Because when you're the producer, you have more power. So by the next one, before the next one, I actually started, you know, learning, like actually sitting down and learning, and watched. I'm not gonna remember now the name of the company, but they do a lot of videos on, you know, um, shots and stuff like that, and how to, and then obviously you need a very good DP that
Mm,
is that knows the camera, because you don't know shit. You're not gonna know what camera you're not gonna know what lens to use. You're just gonna be like, this is the shot I want. Okay, whatever lens that is, that's the thing. Like
yeah,
now at this point, I've done so many that I know, or I have
yeah,
at least an idea.
right.
Um, but back then I had no clue. But yeah.
Yeah, but that's what you're there for. That's the great thing about short films is that's where you cut your teeth at. That's where you gain your skills from. You know, I'm a highly I'm a huge short film fan. I think they're wonderful. I think they're critically essential to any director improving their craft. Uh, I mean, I've seen a lot of first time directors, that coming out there, they wrote the screenplay, so they feel they can direct. This is their first, and they do a feature film. A lot of those people just crash and burn. It's just too much. They don't know enough. Yes, they have a
To be
team.
honest, my first one was a feature. It was not. It was not a short.
Will
I only did one short, and it was what year was that? Like 2017, something like that. And we just did it for fun. But
was one. Oh, it was
yeah.
the one. Your first thing that you wrote was "Lilies Are Red." That was a short film.
No, that
Um,
was 2017, I think. Leaves are Red. In terms of the first one was The Awakened in 2012, I believe.
let's see.
So and
Uh,
that
but
that
were
was a
you?
cool short film.
Lilies Are Red. You're listed as a director,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That I wrote and directed and everything on that. Yeah.
and then it says here after that, then it says "The Awakened" came out in 2012. And then since then you've done pretty much almost a film a year or every other year. So you're building your resume quite nicely, because it does take a long time to take a movie from, it's not just okay, let's make a movie, and then like Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland, it'll take like 40, like 40 minutes. It takes a long time to like I think Diana mentioned that the Nine Windows, it took a little while to do. It took long. It's not, it wasn't it was shot in 16 days, but it took how long for it take to go from it being wrapped to finally Gravitas releasing it. It was a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been 2 years because post production took about a year, and then after that, it was finding the distributor and all that, and then even then, it everybody wants to release a horror film in October, so that delayed it even further. So I mean, between one thing and the other, it's taken 2 years, and you have another year before that in pre-production, so
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's been 3 years of my life.
I admit I was actually surprised to see that Gravitas came over there and snagged it, because Gravitas seems to be lately, and they seem to be really supportive behind it too. And Gravitas, had a reputation. Like I have a few Gravitas films. They do documentaries and they do romantic, indie films and indie rom-coms and whatnot. They really didn't have a reputation at all for horror or thrillers per se, but all of a sudden lately it seems like that's what they're getting into, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, it's horror and thrillers that just have a very dedicated audience, and they've always had a pretty good mix. I mean, they have a huge um, library of films. I mean, it's like, that was my biggest concern actually, is that we would get lost in the shuffle because they were so big. Um, but they've done a really good job. I mean, I can't complain.
No, no, I had another director come on earlier this month. His film got released by Gravitas too, the first of October. Spider Dabrowski, Down Below, and that's what I'm saying. When I heard that, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Gravitas is actually flexing its wings a little bit, and getting into the horror game, which is really good. I mean, there's a lot of independent horror out there, as you know, but it's not always the same. It's not always equal. Um, what was it like working on your first film, The Awakened? What was that like? Because, I mean, a short film, because the short film is cool, cutting your teeth per se, but now you got a feature film. What were some of the things that you weren't ready for, or obstacles that you hit, and how did you overcome them?
Oh my God, there were so many. And yeah, I mean, I always wish that if there's one thing that I could go back and redo, is that, I would have gone back and done a short. But I was just a writer on it. I wasn't really, and I mean, I was a producer as well, but I wasn't expecting to have to learn how to make a film from that. We're trusting this other person to do it. And I just,
Did the other
you know,
person walk off?
no, they were still there. It's just that, when you write something, it becomes your baby,
Right.
and you become very attached to how you want to see it, on screen. So I just was having issues with that, I guess.
Right.
Was the thing was like, we just had a bit of a difference of opinion on the creative part of it. And so, I mean, it was halfway through the movie that I started like just making suggestions and stuff like that. And just because I was like, I don't know about this. So it's funny because we shot it in progression, and you can, if you watch it, which I hope that you don't, because it's not well done. You see exactly where I stepped in, because it changes dramatically.
Now you know that that sort of stuff happens a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, 'cause it's like Because I'm with you. I'm with you. I'll sit there and say, what, like, I mean, I've seen people, do rewrites in the middle of the movie, and it's just like, holy shit, how do you do that? How do how I personally myself, I think that once you write your script and you put it out there and you lock it in, and you're like, this is our script that we'll be shooting. That's it. That's what you're supposed to be doing. This on the fly stuff, well, let's go back there and rewrite something else in. It's like, why do you feel like you need to do that? I mean, if you thought this, it's sort of like how some studios will do that with a story. They'll see a story, they like the story, but then they'll buy it, and the first thing they do is they change it. It's like, why are you buying it in the first place?
Right?
It's like, you like that movie. Like, to me, probably the greatest one like that was be The Shining. You love The Shining. You love Stephen King's book. You bought it. You're gonna make a movie out of it. But then you totally change it. I never gotten over that. I've never gotten that. It's like, trust the writer. The writer, if you trust the writer and you support that, then write it. Then film it as he sees it. Um, I know there's some flexibility in there, of course, obviously. I mean, sometimes writers, you probably know this, both being a writer and a director. Some writers, they outright the budget. They're writing, you got a $10 million movie, and they're writing a $30 million movie.
Right.
It's like, yeah. So I get that part, but just to change it just because you can, I don't really agree with that. I mean,
Actually, and I could even see changing it before you film, but once you start filming, like every time I've seen the whatever the real life story of how Jaws was made, and they mentioned how he was still writing the script in the middle of shooting. I'm like, what? That's just insane to me. Like, how did you not have a completed script before you actually started filming? That is insane.
yeah.
I don't even know. That doesn't make any sense.
And to me, it's like, especially if you have actors that are coming in there, especially young actors. I mean, I noticed some of the acting that you have. They were pretty young in the game, or this is like they all have under like 5 credits. They're all with you. They're all in the same boat with you, cutting their teeth. And here you go, you're an actor, and you're reading your script, and then when you get to set, all of a sudden they turn around and say, "Well, we wrote 5 pages for you. Here you go. This is what we're doing." It's just
How do
like,
you, how do you
you know,
even do a schedule? How do you do a budget for a film if you don't have a final script? I mean, that's like step one for me. I don't understand. But that's Hollywood when you can just keep throwing money at something, I mean,
right.
I hope
Did
I
you?
hope to have that problem one day.
Oh, okay. Wouldn't that be nice? No. Now, as far as being a woman director, what kind of feedback or things that did you experience going through, not only as a woman director, but as a Latino director as well? Would people come talk to you easily, or were they hesitant? Did you ever encounter anybody who didn't have faith in your abilities?
The only time that has been an issue and a drawback, or not a drawback, but where it's been difficult has been with DPs actually. Um,
Really?
yeah, that the first couple for sure. I don't know about one or two of the others. Um, there wasn't a lot of faith in, and part of me was like, well, is it because I'm a woman or is it because I'm kind of new? And they're like, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. This is only her second film or third film or whatever. But there was a lot of questioning, of my abilities, and and it's hard when you're having to fight for your vision.
Right.
But then I found a really good DP that I really liked working with, and was just he was amazing to work with, Bill Schweikert, and we did two films together. So I mean, that has been the biggest hindrance. In honesty, for me, I've had more. so much. I think the horror community is just so ahead of everybody in terms of um, gender issues
Mhm.
and race issues,
Yeah.
and ethnic, and and that kind of thing, that I have gotten so much help and support from white men who have been my biggest champions, to be honest. Like, my biggest champions when it comes to promoting my films, people like you, that have helped me in so many ways. So I can't really say that I have experienced some kind of, I don't know, bigotry
It's
based on
still
either one of those factors.
it's still bitterly disappointed though when you still see it though. Like I mean I'm sitting in this community here on YouTube, and one of the things I noticed right off is like, like I know like the vast majority, and they could walk in here and I'm telling each one of them to their face, but the vast majority of the ones that I talked to, when Jordan Peele's mentioned, it's so disappointing. It's so damn disappointing to hear the reaction of the fans. Horror fans are, I like them, for the most part. I do like most horror fans, but man, they really are. They're also some of the most narrow-minded in a lot of respects. It's You go back here and you watch over and over and over, and you keep seeing them going back to the same old. I heard one guy watching on a show today, and he's talking about the '80s was the best for horror, and I'm going like, maybe that's true in the '80s, but if you really are thinking about this, the '80s is the best in horror. It might be best in horror only in the fact that those movies were made and they were gatekeepers. But as far as are they as far as are they better than them? Are the movies in the '80s better than the movies that are today? No, a lot of them are not. A lot of them aged really terribly. They're not as good. They couldn't get away with, they could get away with certain things, but they didn't have the technology. The acting is way, way better today than it was back then for the most part.
But
You know,
I think that kind of works in our favor, though, as indie filmmakers, because those movies didn't have a huge technology behind them. So I think in a lot of ways they would rather watch an indie film that doesn't have a huge budget, you know, because
there are
it's
a few out there, Lou. I'll be honest. There are a few out there that are independent. They're independent films. They like indie films. But for the most part, I see a lot of the same people I see every day, and it's like, man, it feels so weird being 60 years old, telling people about Nine Windows. Like, you gotta be get in on this. When I got somebody who's half that age that's still stuck watching, fucking Halloween '78 all over again. It's like, drop that, expand your vision. There's so much out there. I mean, me trying to get, me trying, and other journalists and other critics trying to get this movie out. Like, yeah, you guys got to go see this. You got to see this. And yet, and they're going, oh, okay, I'll go check that out. But now I'm going to go over there and watch Chucky again for the 50th time, or I'm going to talk about the new Scream movie the 50th time. It's like, oh, it just drives you nuts as a horror fan, because you're sitting there going like, and they complain the loudest. Oh, that wasn't very good. That wasn't very good. It's like, if you're tired of watching remakes and sequels and franchise, stop going to them. Go and watch a
Oh, I say
movie.
the same thing. Oh my god, that drives me insane. It's like, if you don't go, they won't keep doing it. I forgot who. What was I seeing today that was like that a third movie is coming? I'm like, what? What else is there to say about that? Why do people keep going to watch it? The
Yeah,
last one was pretty awful.
I mean, it's like, why do you keep going? I mean, like you look at the Halloween thing. Look at The Exorcist. Why do we need a new Exorcist movie? We don't. We already got the classic. Move on. Let it go. If you want to see a really cool movie, go watch The Crucifixion. by Xavier Gens. Go watch go watch some different possession movies. There are a lot of them out there. Not just the same old. Well, let's go talk. It's like there's a. I tell you this. There was a director named Keith Thomas, and I haven't got a chance to talk to him, but I watched his first movie that he made. His first movie that he made was called The Vigil. He made it for IFC Midnight. Oh my gosh, dude, that movie is crackling good. It's really good. And in a rare twist, it's a PG-13 movie, which I don't like PG-13 horror. I like my horror like you made yours. I like sitting there gripping the edge of the seat, like holy shit. Those I love those moments. When I'm sitting there watching your movie, I can tell you on two occasions that's exactly what happened. It's like, holy crap. Because that to me that means I'm surprised. I'm jolted. It's like I love that feeling. I don't want to just sit there and like, oh yeah, here he comes Michael again. Okay, yeah, we know he's coming. Yeah. Oh, here comes Jason. Okay, yeah, he's coming. We all know he's coming. You're not surprised. You know
Right.
what's going to come. It's like, it's like you've seen it once, you've seen it 20 times, which is about the same amount of films they made, right? But for something like Nine Windows, all of a sudden it's like, you're watching because you don't know what's going to happen because you don't know the work, you don't know the director or whoops, my phone went crazy here. Hold on one second.
Oh, you're frozen.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Okay, there I go. All right. Ta-da! Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what happened. So that's what I'm saying. To me, part of the reason I love doing interviewing directors such as yours. Oh, let me finish my Keith Thomas story. So Keith Thomas is a movie called The Vigil. It's a fantastic movie. Highly recommend it. Um, his second movie, they walked up to him and said, "Here, we want you to remake Firestarter." Nobody asked for that. Nobody. There wasn't a single person sitting there going like, "Oh yeah, oh what happened if we did Firestarter today?" Nobody asked. It's like studios and producers, they don't have their fingers on the public's pulse.
Hmm.
It's like if they did, they wouldn't make such boondoggles like that. They wouldn't make such mistakes. But fans feed into that. They feed into it. Oh, now they're gonna make a Firestarter. Okay, now we're gonna get behind it. Well, before they announced it, you had no interest in it because there was no interest in it. But now they're telling you that they're going to make it. Now they're basically telling you get interested in it. It's like, why can't you do that with other independent horror films? Like, why didn't you do that with The Vigil? The Vigil deserved it. The director deserved it. Uh, um,
Yep.
what did you? What have you? What movie have you done so far? I know a lot of people say it's my latest one, but what was your first movie that you did that you just felt 100% right in? Like this is exactly I'm exactly where I need to be. What movie has made you the most proud to have made?
My favorite film is called Three. And then I think that it was distributed under the title Three and I for an I. And it's on Tubi and it's on all Amazon to rent or whatever, but you can watch it just stream for free on Tubi. And it was exactly what I wanted to make, and the kind of film that I would love to make constantly because it's it's a contained thriller, but it's very twisty.
Mm.
So it's constantly trying to make you think something's happening and then something else is happening. So yeah, that's my favorite script that I've been able to write that accomplished that, I think, pretty well. And the reviews showed it. Like everybody really, really liked it. I think I only had one negative review. Other than that, all the reviews were glowing. So I mean, and the acting's good. The setup is good. That's the one that I'm like the proudest of.
Your casts are pretty solid too.
Thanks.
You worked with some really good. You worked with Tony Todd.
Hmm.
Hell yeah, if William Forsythe and when William and Tony Todd, that's like Hall of Fame material right there. Um, who has been the biggest name star that you worked with that you are most impressed with?
um, I have to say, I know Tony Todd was pretty amazing. I mean, he came in and was super easy to work with, and he just came in, flew in one day, worked an entire day, and then left the next day. And in those day in that day, he shot I want to say like 4 scenes. Um,
It's not frustrating. I mean, do you talk to producers saying, "I got Tony Todd here. I know we don't have a lot of money per se." Um, and to me, it's like I wanted him for just more than just one scene. What can we do to make that happen? How can we get him on for 2 days instead of just one day, or 4 days instead of just two? Can you fight for that? And is it within protocol for to directors to walk up to some talent and ask them, hey, would you be willing to do, like, could we get you for an extra could we get you for an extra day worth of shooting? Could we, even though it's would count as a third day, but is that
it's
is that
all that
balancing?
stuff has to be budgeted up ahead of time, so it's really difficult to change it on the fly. Not to mention, the flights are booked and all that, so it's not something you can really do on the fly. So it's got to be something, a discussion that you have to have ahead of time.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's just money's not there, and it's either you kind of have to make a decision whether do you know their daily rates are pretty high, so it's like, is it worth the extra day, or can I make those scenes you know as good as I can, and
I
spend the rest of the money on that amount of money instead on other things that might actually make the film better. So
now when your screenwriting in process, when you're writing, like when you're writing Nine Windows, um, did you write the cast? Did you write the who you would like to see play these roles, or did you just write the story then during the casting process? And how involved were you in the casting process, or are you
oh,
in the?
very, 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 a lot, too much.
Oh,
But
I don't think a director can say that. I think a director. I'm glad when a director gets in there and gets their hands in the casting process. It always works that much better for us.
oh, I just, because I was actually dealing with agents, and they're the worst. They're
Mm.
like, they're so difficult. So
Yeah,
that's the part, not the having the say so on who got cast, but the fact that I had to deal with agents, and oh my god, if I never have to deal with an agent again, I'll be the happiest person in the world. Um, but um, but yeah,
oh,
um, I'm sorry, I now forgot the question because I went
yeah,
off
I
on this
know that.
tangent about agents
You
and
know what? Honestly,
how.
I'm certain that if you look to your right there when you're thinking about agents, when you look to the right there, you'll see me doing that too. Because I'm thinking my flashbacks to dealing with agents. Not fun. I don't. I'm totally with you on that.
The
And
worst,
when
the
you
worst.
and when you do find that one agent that you can connect with, change over. It's like, hey, what happened to Joe? Joe left. Well, I just talked to him yesterday. I know, but he's gone. Well, where'd he go? I don't know. Um, but as far as agents go, I mean, I guess you'd negotiate with them. I mean, I go their deal is to make the best for their client, and you're trying to get there for the best for the movie. Um, yeah, that's no fun. Let's talk a little bit about your writing process, just a little bit. I don't have you for very much longer, but I'm going to try to squeeze a couple more in. What is your writing process like now compared to when as you've gotten more into filmmaking, more into directing? Um, what is your writing process like? I mean, do you have a certain way you write? Do you collaborate with anybody? Do you stay home to write? Do you go out to the beach and hang out and write?
No,
what
I
works for
gotta be
Liz?
home and I have to like tune out the whole world because otherwise it's very easy to get distracted. But I don't know. I'm a very quick writer actually. Because I wait till I actually know what I'm gonna write about. And then I kind of let the story stew in my head a little bit and then kind of think of what I wanted to happen, and then I sit down and write a very detailed outline. And until that outline's not done, I won't write. And then once I have the outline done, then I can sit down and write a script in 3-4 days. But
I,
for like the first draft, but I need the outline first. Even though sometimes I'll get off the once I'm writing I might not follow it to a T, but it keeps me from getting writer's block because you know what's going to happen next.
oh yeah, right, yeah, that's terrible, especially for a screenwriter. I mean, a novelist, you have time to work it out, but a screenwriter, it doesn't always seem that way. It seems like screenwriters have to write faster than novelists do.
Yeah.
Um, and my last question. Let's talk a little bit about Hitchcock and Nine Windows and the fact that why did you pick Rear Window? Because Hitchcock has so many great movies. I mean, we could be here. That's a whole nother show if we talked about Hitchcock. But what was it about Rear Window that drew you? Was it the story? I mean, I know this sounds sort of like cold-hearted, but was it the story, or was it like, what can I do via what movie can I do this to via a budget? Like, what movie can I make that's like in the spirit of Hitch, but with also within my budget? Or was Rear Window one of your favorite Hitchcock movies?
It is my favorite Hitchcock movie, actually. It is. But I had never even considered doing a Hitchcock movie. What happened was in 2020 when production shut down, that I kind of, and for a moment there, it looked like it was hopeless. Like we were just going to live in this kind of weird state of not being able to be around people, for ever. I didn't see how we were ever going to get out of that. And I thought, well, I was, watching 100 million movies like everybody else, to entertain myself during the lockdown. And I saw Rear Window again. And I thought, well, there's a film that I can see being done with limited casts, and it has, very limited locations. And I can see how that might be able to be something that could be done in this new world of filmmaking. And then at the same time, it occurred to me watching it that technology had kind of changed the whole vibe of that movie, because it's you're watching the movie and you're supposed to be so shocked that he's looking through his window at his neighbors and like being a voyeur of some kind. And yet now people are like willingly oversharing their information online. You don't have to look through their windows to know what they're doing, because they share especially during the pandemic, like everybody was sharing every intimate detail. I'm depressed. My boyfriend cheated on me, and I had this for lunch, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like everybody's like TMI, really. So it occurred to me just that difference between 1954 to 2020, how vastly different the world was. And I thought, oh, there's a story in there somewhere. Like, how about if instead of windows, in your neighbors' houses, you're looking through windows in a computer, and that's how the story started churning in my head. And then the next thing I knew, I had the script.
Did you know that when you saw Diana and Christopher, did you know that they were your pair right away?
Diana was actually a last minute casting, to be honest. I had seen her in a film that a friend of mine shot, and I thought the moment that I saw her, I was like, she was really good. Like I want to work with her one day. But I was trying really, really hard to cast an actress that had paraplegia. It was originally written that way. That the character never walked. And then, and this is where dealing with difficult agents came in. They basically made my life it just made it so difficult that it was impossible to cast somebody who was in a wheelchair, because it was, the demands were just so high. There was just, we just didn't have the budget for it, you know.
Right.
And they just were asking for all these perks and stuff like that, that we just, you know, it was like, I know that I can't get that done. So I had to give up on that idea. And it kind of worked out, because I don't know that the way that the script was originally written would have worked. So it works a lot better the way that it is written, the way the movie goes now, that, you know, well, I'm kind of spoiling it myself. But
The only thing I had one minor problem for me when the movie was that it was too short. It was
oh,
too short. I wish that it would have been a little, like, you know, you could easily put another 10-15 minutes on there, without a doubt, and not lost any of its potency. That, you know, that was my only thing. And I was wondering, was that with the time movie, was that dictated by budget too, as far as running length goes,
yeah.
or was that a creative decision by yourself?
No, I mean, I wrote it for a budget, so I know that that's about the page length that can be done on a, you know, on a, with budget restrictions.
See, that's interesting. So I mean, if you would have had it like another million, you could have added a, how much, what is the time frame for that? Is it like 15 minutes? Is it 15 minutes per million? Like, if you know, or you know, or is it, I mean, you get charged by the length of the movie? I mean,
I mean, it's there's so many variables. The number of actors, you know, the number of locations, you know, um, how big the crew was, you know, that kind of thing. So, and we had a huge crew. We had a very large crew. Even though we had a lot of students working on it from Full Sail and stuff like that, but we did have a very large crew. And just, you know, and sometimes,
students from
you know, sometimes you just
film,
want to get in and tell a story and get out, you know, like I'm not a huge fan of long, I don't know, there's like a trend right now of having these 3-hour movies, and I'm like, what the
yeah.
hell? I don't need that. I have stuff
I
to
like
do.
90. I like 95 minutes, 95 to 100 minutes, an hour and 40. That's great. You know, that's solid. I mean, a good storyteller can get in there and you know, he or she can hit the mark right away.
Yeah.
You know, with that. Now you just said you had students working on the film. So
Mhm.
Full Sail students were working on your film.
Yeah.
How
Yeah. We had a
cool is
lot
that?
of them on the crew, and it was great. It was wonderful. It was so nice, you know,
Cool.
to kind of help them start their career.
Wow. Are you going to be a hero to you? You already are a hero to many of them. I'm sure they talk a lot about that experience.
I
Even if it was a little while ago, I'm sure a lot of those folks will sit out there and say, you know, what was your first film? There was Nine Windows, with director Lou Simone. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, I
so
hope
cool.
so. I hope so. I hope that they got something out of it, you know, like anytime that we've had interns on any of my films, I'm always like trying to get them involved in bigger things, you know, not just be a PA of like going to the corner and getting something and coming back, but like, what do you want to learn about filmmaking? Let's see how we can make that happen on set. Give you some experience in that realm, you know, so it's more than just, and I'll even give them the credit for that, you know, so that they start building a resume.
Oh, that's cool. Lou, I want to thank you so much. I've hit my mark. We're going to do this thing some more. I can tell you that right now. Hopefully you had fun. Hopefully you want to come back.
He
I
did,
had I,
yes.
I had a blast with this. This is great. I did keep my promise. I think so. I think it wasn't gonna be a boring. It's gonna be some good questions. I love getting into the meat and potatoes. I really do. I don't really want to do, like, you know, what was your what was your favorite movie growing up? I'm not really about that. I'm really about how did you decide to cast the people you cast or make those shots, and I hope that you have fun answering those questions.
I did.
And we're
I
going to
did.
come back. Nine Windows is out now on Gravitas Ventures. Now, did you get a physical release for the movie?
It is, yeah. It's on Amazon for the DVD, and then probably next year we'll do our own Blu-ray release.
Okay. Now, the Gravitas Ventures, and I'm putting them on the spot right now, Gravitas Ventures. Did you get a copy of your film by them? Did they send you some movies? Copy?
No,
They did not?
I
Damn.
have not. I don't know if I'll get one eventually, but it just released, so so I don't know if I'll get it eventually. But
Man, you know what? I told that to Spider too. I says, you need to contact those guys and tell them that, tell them to send you some movies. Because there's been times where I've interviewed people and I'll sit there and I'll bring out the movie and go like, so here our guest tonight, this is his new this is her or his new movie, and you show it and they're like, what is that my movie? And says, yeah. It says, I don't even have a copy yet.
you said you have it before me. I mean, it's possible. I have to go back and read the distribution contract. I think that we were supposed to get copies.
Yeah.
But in my experience, usually, like I get them a little after. I won't get them like before it gets released broadly. So I will get them eventually, just not.
I really did. I really thought that was the case. I really thought that uh, 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 like as soon as the movie was over, it got distributed. Distributor would send the filmmaker 50 copies, to autograph and send out to friends and family and stuff like that. I was that naive. I'm like, oh, and then all of a sudden I'm realizing that no, they really don't do that. Well,
It
I
depends.
didn't. Well,
It
you
depends
got
on
to
on what you put in the contract. So,
yeah,
and I'm pretty sure that I put that they need to give us copies, but I don't remember now off the top of my head if we did or didn't.
tell you what.
Yeah,
I'll
I
tell you
prefer Blu-ray anyway, so I'll get my copies then.
That's right, because you know what? This is a part where your lawyer side still reigns supreme. It's
That's
like
that's why I still have that license.
that's right. That's why I'm writing my contract for when I write my contract for the movie. I'm putting in there. You're gonna give me 50 copies of this. And or else. As they should. As they should.
Yeah.
All right. We have hit the marker. I want to thank everybody who came out and supported this show and watch it on replay. Thank you for the people who are watching on replay. Our friend Hobbs Horace here. He and I had a great weekend, football wise. Hobbs wants to know if you're a physical media collector. Do you collect physical media?
Yes, I have a ton of them. Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to get him to show us his movie room. I'm going like Hobbs, show us the movie room, show us the movie room. He just won't do it. I don't know why, because he has a tremendous collection at home. I'm like, dude, put it all together, put it from alphabetical order, and then go in there and show us your mighty collection. So hopefully by the time you come back, he'll have done that, and then I'll send it to you.
Okay.
All right. We are going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much in the chat for coming out here and hanging out with us. We will not be here tomorrow. Normally we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but we are taking tomorrow off. We will be back here on Thursday with the lovely Morgan Malam. She will be here and we'll be talking about a lot about her new films. She is a modern screen queen, and she is one of the sweetest people you ever meet. She's a talented actress too. She's a lot of fun, and Morgan will be here, and maybe there might be some chupacabra talk. I'm not sure. We'll see. And so that's where I'll be on Thursday. Hopefully you'll be here with us too. Stay right where you're at, Lou. I'm just gonna say goodnight to everybody else, and we will see you Thursday.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, let's see. Oh. I have to go vertical for a second. I don't know what's going on with my phone. Not very happy with